And there's this. I'd like him to tell me the story that he told me this morning when we were chatting by cell phone. Right, Val? You know, I'm a cell phone to cell phone person, right?
That's right.
And I still can't believe there are human beings out there like me who actually answer their phones. But Cat McCormick's one of those. I'm one of those. Val Olson is one of those. Again, episode for another day. I want to throw a curveball here. I would like the captain to take really as much as, honestly, James, as much as you want, whether it's a minute, whether it's 5 minutes. I want you to repeat the story that you told me by cell phone this morning about the drone pilot trainee. The reason why I want to ask you to share this is because I love live radio and I love long form radio and unexpected stuff. But we actually were chatting about managing the generations at the time. And we were talking about also about how don't ever form an opinion about anyone, whether it's generationally or intellectually, because they often surprise you. And you told me this story, and I'm going to tell you what. And Val, thank you so much for this time, no matter what, of long form radio, uncensored, raw, unscripted. That's Dueling Citizens. But Captain McCormick, I'm going to give you the mic here and share it, because this is a story of generations. It's a story of never prejudge. And the microphone, sir, is yours.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was that's a touching story because, so let me just set this up real quick. So I was called back to active duty during COVID, and I was called back to active duty to work with a state defense force and the National Guard and the federal law enforcement, serving as an S2 military intelligence, actually in the J2 shop. And our goal was to do observation when COVID first kicked off, because we were watching the connection between gangs, cartels, and, the real no joke Al-Qaeda style terrorists. And as I told you, there is a connection, and it's very strong. And honestly, we can designate them all to be our enemy, but that's for another show. But in the state defense forces, the states that have them, and I tell you, if you're in one of those states that does not have one, you should clearly get out and advocate for it. Because when you have your own state defense force or state guard, you have your own militia that's controlled just by the governor. So the governor actually really has a military force, unlike they think they have with the National Guard. And because of that, there are a lot of people that get to serve in the state defense force that wouldn't normally get to serve on active duty or in the National Guard or Reserves because of a disability. And the one thing I noticed with this state defense force is they had all of these people in this organization. They were all ages. I mean, some people were as old as 75, and then there had some people that were, born without a hand. And then another few that had, high functioning autism. And one of the high functioning autism young ladies that we had was assigned to the J2, which is military intelligence. And, being around that and seeing that, and, I have a grandson that's autistic, so I definitely understand maybe a lot better than some folks. You could tell, you can see, but what she would do is she just couldn't sit still. She couldn't sit still. She was always up moving around, and they would just, pawn her off to go do this or do that. Well, about halfway into this mobilization, I'm a drone pilot. I'm a FAA 107 certified drone pilot, and I've been that way for years. And they wanted someone to teach the drone piloting to these state defense force guys, because they could fly these drones and they could go out and do observation and visuals and do things that the federalized National Guard can't do. It was just, there's just a law about, soldiers flying drones. And whereas in the State Defense Force, you have to work with it. So they had me training people, and I noticed that she was watching, and I had this program. It was a a simulator program that was on a computer. You put this thing on your face, and you flew a drone. And I looked around and I said, "Hey," and I'm not going to hold off on her name because I don't want to. But I said, "Hey, soldier, come over here, and I want to see how you can fly this drone." And she puts this mask on and she goes to it. She takes off, lands, no problem. First time, no problem. I said, "Okay." I said, "Now let's go into into some more basic steps. Rotate left, rotate right, take off, high takeoff. Then you start flying through different areas on this program, and it's extremely difficult, and you will crash your drone very, very. I've crashed the drone on there a lot, okay? But she never crashed a drone, never crashed a drone. And when she was jittery, those jitters stopped the minute that she was able to get her hands on that control and put her face in that mask, that they wear. You know what I'm talking about? The VR, virtual reality headset. And she's flying that drone and just flying it perfectly. By the end of that day, I had her at the 5 level, which at the 5 level, you really are ready to start flying. And in addition to that, not only was she gifted in that, but she was also gifted in the ability to understand and retain the federal laws. So literally, while we're doing this, she's also, getting quizzed, getting asked questions, and remembered and retains everything. Just incredible. And you would not know that she was autistic unless you really knew something about it, because her actions do not, demonstrate, highly active autism. What they demonstrated was more of an Asperger's type symptom, but she was, autistic. And so then we get the drones out and we start flying the drones. Now, I'm not kidding you. I have flown drones for years, okay? And I haven't flown any in a long time, but I'm telling you, by the time I went up there and I was doing that, I was a pretty skilled drone pilot. Her skills exceeded mine. She could fly that drone under bridges, around areas, can get close in shots better than anybody else that we train. And the amazing thing about that whole situation was that everyone thought that they were pawning her off on me. What they did was they gave me the best drone pilot that I've ever trained in my life. And I can tell you this, to this very day, she's on Facebook with me, and I was telling you who she was, Greg, and I can tell you, the girl's sharp. And if she can, I hope she's continued with her drone piloting, because she was definitely a skilled pilot, and she got shots and pictures. And so as you're out there cruising around during COVID, there's nothing on the street, and the only people that are out on the street in some of these areas were bad people. So we were able to get a lot of pictures and a lot of photos and a lot of film that we would have not been able to have gotten depending on just 1 or 2 drone pilots. So why do I say that? I say this for 2 reasons. Number one, you don't want to ever count anybody out. There are people out there that everybody has a gift and a skill. Everybody has a gift. No matter how dysfunctional you think that a person is, I can promise you they have some sort of a skill and a gift. When they gave her to us in MI, in the military intelligence section, as a volunteer State Defense Force person, I'm telling you, she left down there. She got all kinds of accolades and awards, and got promoted to sergeant. And that was just a great feeling as well to watch that happen for her. And, I'm proud. I'm really proud of her for what she's done. Not only did she overcome what she doesn't see as a disability, she doesn't even realize it. She's like, I don't realize I'm any different than anybody else. and she's very matter-of-factly in speaking. You know, there's no deep emotional, no deep emotions in her decision making. It's all based on knowledge and facts and information, and in that field, that's what you need. So, Greg, that was a great opportunity for me to tell you about, you know, the special gift that this person had, and the fact that, you know, here I was at the time, let's see, what would I've been, 52 at the time, you know, working with a 24 to 26-year-old, you know, female with autism, and teach her how to fly drones within a day. Within a day. It takes people weeks, months, and in some cases, I can tell you, I know drone pilots that went out and passed the FAA 107 exam, and they couldn't fly a drone. They couldn't fly it into the side of a building, man. I'm just telling you, it just is. But this girl was skilled, man. So thanks for the opportunity to tell that story.